Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from that old abandoned drive-in movie theater that's actually home to a super advanced holographic artificial intelligence system, I'll be your lead singer, Dave Trumbore. Joining me on backup vocals, glockenspiel, and guitar, it's my co-host, Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, buddy?
David. I'm doing well. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing real good. Hey, I think we could go far just as like a duo, some sort of like folk singer duo, but I feel like
like a Matt and Kim kind of thing, or like a Death from Above, 1979.
I was yes, let's say that. But I feel like we
Black
also
Keys,
we could be like the Black Keys, or
like the White Stripes.
like the White Stripes. But I'm
Okay.
just gonna be the terrible drummer if that's okay with you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I was gonna say 21 Pilots, but they're great. So
You want to just keep naming like duos?
I'm out.
I was actually gonna suggest that maybe we need somebody to like bring in the bass, bring in the funk. Do you have anybody in mind?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Nobody's coming to mind.
Okay, let's just keep going then. So tonight we're gonna talk.
No,
fuck
we
yourself.
should.
Oh hey, who's that?
Wow! Oh wow! Hey, please allow me to introduce you first before you tell me to go fuck myself. I'd like to welcome to this podcast. Welcome back, Melanie Harker. How are you doing this evening?
Hey there. So you want me to bring the funk?
Yeah, you're bringing the I said the bass
Like
and the funk,
scent?
and I left out the noise. So you can also
Okay.
bring the noise.
What would I play to bring the funk? Like the sax? I don't know how to
Definitely.
play sax.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
You got it.
Oh, this could be like a
What about jazz piano? I can do that.
You can do both. Can you do both at the
Cool.
same time?
Yes.
Excellent. Did your father happen to leave you an entire walk-in closet full of musical instruments by any chance?
He did actually.
Oh,
well, it's a
wonderful.
basement.
You're in a band. I don't
There's
care
a
what.
basement full of
It's-
musical.
it's
This is
the
true.
basement.
Well,
There's a-
this is factual.
Oh, this is
my
actual factual?
house.
This is
Yes.
actual factual.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, you're actually in the band then that we're going to start now.
Thanks.
It wasn't in the plan, but now it's
That
going to
was
be because you
good.
got pre-musical instruments.
Is that my interview?
Yeah, done.
Sold.
Perfect.
This is actually, I don't know why we're recording this. This was just an interview for as an audition for Mel. Join the band.
This is like a private Skype channel right now, right?
What do you guys want to? What do you want to name this band though? Anything jump
I
out
was
at you?
just thinking,
Yeah.
okay, so it's Dave and the other people?
Yeah, that doesn't really ring all
Okay.
that well though. We need something snappier, something like shinier, like
Guys,
more
I'm gonna
like
be honest.
I don't know.
How about Jem and the Holograms?
Hey, that sounds perfect. No one's
Perfect,
stolen that
doesn't it?
before.
Nobody's taken that one before.
Let's do that. And scene. So we're going to be talking Jem and the Holograms tonight. Speaking of that, actually, there's another band that shows up in this show that I'm amazed they had the rights, or maybe didn't, to use their name.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were able to do this either.
I had to look that up. It was like 8 years. That band had been
Right.
around for like 8 years before the show ever came on the air. So,
Do we have the rights to say the Misfits?
well,
I
we
just want to be
do
be
now
clear.
in perpetuity.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're obviously talking Jem and the Holograms
Right.
tonight. The band that is the counterpoint to Jem and the Holograms, their rivals, is called the Misfits. And if you've ever listened to kind of like goth punk rock from back in the 80s at this point, there is obviously a very notable and great band that is called the Misfits. And so we are kind of baffled how they managed to get the rights to be able to put this name and I'm sure make money from being able to sell Misfits toys
Yeah.
and clothing and everything. And so, guys, I say all of this to state I don't understand how trademark and copyright laws work.
Well,
So,
but I mean, it's
big
actually-
mystery for me.
Look, you bring up a good point, and I know you're going to walk us through the history of the show here because it's not just a typical, well, it is actually typical for this era. It wasn't just a straight up cartoon creation. There was obviously some merchandise tie-ins. So,
Right,
John, why don't
right.
you walk us through our history here?
Sure thing. So we have Jem, also known as Jem and the Holograms, is an American animated television series that ran from 1985 to 1988 in the United States, with first-run syndication that was 3 seasons and 65 episodes. So it hits that syndication mark of 65 episodes. But oddly enough, it wasn't just 1 season, 65 episodes. It was
Right.
three respectable seasons.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. I feel better about that.
I do too.
So the series was a joint collaboration between Hasbro Toys, Marvel Productions Toys, and Sunbow Productions Toys. It's the same team that was responsible for G.I. Joe and Transformers. Christy Marks had also been a staff writer for all of the aforementioned programs and was hired to create the series based on a lineup of dolls and the original concept that they had created. The animation, which I'm going to put to point and bring to task
Yeah, we
later
should.
on, for most of the episodes was provided by the Japanese animation studio Toei Doga, or Toei Animation as we know it here. And so, oof.
Yeah, we need to talk about that animation too.
It is garbage.
Some pretty bad stuff.
Some straight trash.
We've seen worse at this point at what, like 68 episodes in. We've seen worse.
I actually don't know that we have.
I feel like we have. Remember, there were certain ones, what was it? It might have even been like Thundar, where they just had complete backgrounds that were just one solid color or not even like painted in.
Well, I don't even think in this moment, I understand what you're saying about Thundar.
Yeah.
The thing that was problematic with Jem and the Holograms was that there are moments where in episode 2 where Jem is about to confess to Rio that she is in fact Jerrica. Yeah, spoiler alert. If you didn't know this already, guys. And he is holding her and they are holding each other in their arms, and Jem just goes, maybe I should tell you. And in the span of that line of dialogue, she has flickered multiple times cells of animation that are incomplete, that do not have her eye makeup. So she flashes from Jerrica to Jem to Jerrica to Jem. And this was not like an animation convention that they were using in order to give him a tip or an idea.
Yeah, or like Synergy was playing Matchmaker or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this was just
Maybe
shitty animation.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, when you are introduced for the first time to Synergy and she walks across the room, her head does not track with the rest of her body.
Are you sure you meant to say walks?
When she glides,
she shoulder shrugs across the room.
Yeah,
whatever locomotion apparitions have when they ghostly haunt
Swoop?
an orphanage.
They
swoop. When they ghostly haunt an orphanage. Yes. This is actually pretty germane to this
so
discussion
in Annie, Zombies.
Yes,
that's what they do.
That was written by Seth Grahame-Smith, so you should check that out at your local library.
Perfect. And so it is. So there's just a lot of imperfections, and I say imperfections to say that there are a shit ton of mistakes with this. That I will say, actually, as we're getting into this, it detracted from my enjoyment of the cartoon.
Really?
It's a shame.
Okay.
It's a real shame.
Because it took me out of it. It really took me out of it, because I'm watching it and I'm seeing something that is like a moment where Jem is actually finally having this serious conflict in her heart and trying to say, like, do I make this confession to Rio? And the animation is just like like jumping back and forth. And it drove me nuts. That's
fair enough. That's a fair criticism, I think. But I will say that it's not uncommon to see that in a lot of the cartoons that we cover. So there will be a lot of things that we talk about today. I know Jem fans out there. I know you're fans of the show. Maybe you haven't watched it in 30 years, so maybe go back and take a look. We are going to pick this show apart as we do on each and every episode here. But honestly, a lot of the same nitpicks we'll have with this show, we've had with a lot of other ones. So it's just kind of in that exact same category as everything else. We will definitely get into it. I want to ask you guys real quickly, before you actually watch the episodes that we watched tonight, what was your understanding of Jem? Just from memory, from the zeitgeist, whatever. Mel?
So I had a Jem doll when I was little,
okay,
even though the show had been over for a year
before
I received it, at least a year before I received it.
Discount Jem doll.
Discount Jem doll, sitting in my grandma's basement, then it became mine.
If you just say that, if you just sing that
and
over and over and over and over again,
this is
just that one line.
It's my solo title is called Grandma's Basement.
Oh, nice.
And
was it a knockoff Jem doll? Was it just called like Dem?
No, it was a real Jem doll.
Dem dolls.
And it had great hair, and it came with that like classic pink wrap outfit, that wrap dress that she wears, and like crazy tights and leg warmers and heels. It was awesome. So I had that, and
I love that Girl Toy's definition of awesome differs only slightly from Guy Toy's definition of awesome.
It just had cool shit on it.
That's exactly the same. That's the same.
Yeah,
that's the same thing.
We just differ in our opinions of cool shit, I guess.
Children are all the same. Yeah. But I would play with the Jem doll and my Legos and my train set all in the same breath, so it was sort of
That's a fun mashup. I want to party at your place.
We had pretty cool parties, and the cat would come in, and then I'd like put the Jem doll on my cat, and then the cat would just like saunter around with the doll on her back. It was awesome.
So
much like Masters of the Universe. Yeah.
And it just became Cat Bus before I knew what a Cat Bus was.
Cat Bus. I was going to go Battle Cat, but Cat Bus is also good.
Oh, Battle Cat. That's also cool. Shout out to my dead cat, Tasha. What's up?
Wow.
Anyway.
Tasha, if you're listening, I got a zombie cat here you might be interested in.
really my goal of being on this show is just to freak Sean out as much as possible.
Well, it's working, so congratulations.
It's working.
So your only familiarity with the show is your Dem doll.
No, so I had a Gem doll, and I remember watching it on something. Maybe it was like a record,
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my mom recorded like VHS recorded a bunch of cartoons for me just to watch whenever I wanted to. So I think I might have an episode somewhere buried, but all I recall before this happened again was the theme song.
Okay.
And I think that might have been it. Just the theme song was the only thing I remembered.
I think that's fair for a lot of these. A lot of them, we don't remember much about the show, but we remember the theme song. Sean, what was your kind of impression of the show? Now, I know we briefly covered this in an earlier episode, one particular scene. So beyond that, did you have any other recollections, memories?
I distinctly remember watching this. I had some cousins who actually had a bunch of episodes on VHS, and when I would see them like on that once a year family thing, like on a family vacation, we would seemingly watch that and Labyrinth and Dark Crystal over and over and over again. And those
seems like an interesting trio.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
That's quality
though. So I'm not complaining, but we would watch it. So as I mentioned, I think last week, nothing ever registered for me, and so I don't remember any specific episodes. But again, it was the theme song. The second the theme song came on, I was like, oh, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dave, what about you?
Honestly, I never watched this show as a kid. I knew it existed. That was about the extent of it. I never really understood what was happening in it. It might have just kind of been out of my time frame because I was only, I don't know what you said, this was 85 to 88.
Yeah.
So I was only like 2 to 5 at this point. And even in syndication, I just don't remember watching it. So I think I might have just been out of the age range. But yeah, I don't know. Other than going over that drug episode that we watched a few episodes back, I had nothing.
That's outrageous.
Oh, it's truly.
That episode was truly outrageous.
I'm gonna overuse this show in the same manner that they overuse it in the actual show.
You should see how many you can jump in here.
You're not gonna make outrageous happen, Sean.
Make it happen, buddy. Bring it back after 30 years.
When we watched it, we equated it to the moment where they're trying to make fetch happen in Mean Girls.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And we're like,
Gretchen.
nah, you just stop. Yeah, exactly. Stop trying to make fetch happen.
I love that nobody had a normal name in this show, though. God. Actually, let me roll through some of them with the series synopsis here. So, the series revolves around Jem, the mysterious lead singer of the rock group Jem and the Holograms. Her real name, of course, is Jerrica Benton. It's basically Jessica with R's instead of S's. And under this name, she's the owner and manager of Starlight Music. Jerrica adopts this persona with the help of a holographic computer known as Synergy. Jem's group, the Holograms, consists of Kimber Benton, Jerrica's younger sister, keyboardist, and main songwriter for the band. Was it Aja or Aha? Aja Leith, guitarist, and Shauna Elmsford, who plays the synth drums, because it's the 80s, ladies and gentlemen, the synth drums.
I loved that drum kit too. The entire time.
I mean, their instruments were, on point.
A lot of guitar.
Yeah.
A lot of wonderful guitar.
Good
so
time.
much guitar.
But that's it. I mean, it's basically just like somebody on the surface, I will say, it's basically just a girl rock band, and they compete against other girl rock bands in like Battle of the Band types things for different contest awards and prizes.
Oh, God.
But it's so much more than that and so much less at the same time. Before we even get into that, guys, okay, so both of you were kind of brought in by this theme song. So let's take that apart a little bit. This show is ostensibly about the music and about the fashion, but mostly about the music and the music video. So how do you think that factors in?
You might have somebody who disagrees with you.
Okay,
on
that's good. I like disagreement.
But we will mention regarding the theme song, the thing that struck me first and foremost is actually, now when you watch cartoons, I will say that many times if there's dancing that's in a cartoon, the dancing is terrible.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
It's real bad.
Super, super weird. It's very stilted.
Well, it's because they animate, like 2 different moves, and then they just keep combining them together?
It's this arm's up, and then the other arm's up.
And there's like a weird shuffle. Like, think of any Scooby-Doo scene where it's like music playing.
Any Peanuts dancing scene that they do. Mm-hmm. And even recently, I was rewatching some Batman Beyond.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the club scenes.
There are a lot of club scenes in that show. And even those are not great. What stood out to me for the Jem theme song, the theme song, I want to clearly delineate this from the actual episodes.
Okay.
The theme song actually had great animated dancing in it, where Jem and the rest of the band are like moving their arms, their hips, the rest of their body. Like it looked.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sean was like, "This is sexy."
Oh, hey, look, my my incognito browser popped up again.
Yep, it's just
callback.
Gem Rule 34. That's all that it is.
We haven't talked about that in a long time.
We haven't talked about that in forever.
Bringing it back.
Oh boy,
you're welcome.
It's clearly in play for Gem, which we'll talk about.
I don't even want to look. So the dancing was great. I actually thought the song was very fun.
Okay.
To kind of get into, especially just having that memory of the song.
Right.
And one of my favorite parts is when the Misfits interrupt the song and kind of barge their way in, and then Gem kind of pushes them right back out.
Yeah, that was fun.
It kind of gives you a very good idea of who the players are.
Right.
They don't really give you names except for Gem, but they sort of showed the playful, I want to say 80s tone of each of the characters, and also shows you who the, I'm going to say this with air quotes, villains are going to be with the Misfits, and sort of how they, I say this because they're just murderers.
Basically.
Yeah.
And again, just domestic terrorists.
Yeah. Which apparently the 80s and 90s cartoon shows were just like rampant with domestic terrorism.
Yeah. Evidently the 80s were like, look, if you almost commit manslaughter and arson, you get off scot-free. Nobody presses charges in this show on anything.
It's also like that is the level of criminal intent we want for our kids' cartoons. Like nothing more, but nothing less.
And also, kids, don't call the police when something terrible happens.
Never.
Just challenge them to a music battle. That will solve everything.
Yeah. Also, never call your insurance agent when your entire house burns down.
No, don't do that. Why would you do that?
Just make a music video.
Just wake up a millionaire at 6 a.m.
Wake up Hugh Hefner
and
as a bunch of orphan girls.
If you make him feel guilty enough, he will let you have his house.
This fucking show.
It's ridiculous.
The amazing thing is that like, you know, when they give you that like crazy yo, look, my word is my bond type of scenario. They gave creepy Hugh Hefner, like, he challenged everybody and he threw his word out there and he tossed it into the ring, and then they almost kill him. Yes. They almost destroy his house. There's almost dead bodies in his front lawn at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And at no point was he like, you know what, maybe I should reconsider the terms of this deal. He's like, no.
He even says, he's like, well,
double
I can't
down.
go back on my
He's
word.
like, it's still on. He's like, I can't go back on my word. And I'm like,
God.
You are a man of just
Idiocy.
pure stupidity.
Yeah.
You are a dumb.
You're a dumb man.
I think he has a lot of faith in Gem and the holograms.
He does.
And he loves orphans. So he just wants to do right by them.
See, at this point, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, if he loves them so much, perhaps don't pit them in a 6-month-long competition against a rival murder band.
Right?
If you love them, just give them the house.
Well, yeah. Dave, let me ask, because I know you said you didn't watch this. Regarding the theme song, what was your impression? Because I know that we're beginning to leak into some of this episode, and I really want to jump in.
We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
As far as I'm concerned, for that theme song, Sean, like your kind of thesis with this whole thing, I thought it did a really good job of just being like, here is Gem, here are the holograms. This is what you're going to get in the show. You're going to get a lot of singing. You're going to get somewhat choreographed dancing. And you kind of get the idea that there's this competition between the two bands, but you don't know how that's going to play out. And I think that's fine for the theme song.
Right.
It was fun. Definitely gave you a sense of the fashion, which is nuts. Super
my
colorful.
Favorite part.
It was great.
I love it.
I mean, it was super colorful. There was nothing else like it as far as I can remember on TV. So as soon as you see that, you know exactly what it is.
Right.
What you don't know is what the hell they're going to try to cram into these plots each and every episode, because it's bonkers, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it now. Do you guys have anything else on the theme song quick?
No. I want to ask you the question, Dave. If you had to describe this first episode in one word, how would you describe it?
American Dream, hyphenated.
Okay. Because I would say dizzying.
Also dizzying.
Hyphen as fuck.
As long as you hyphenate words, it's all one word, so it's fine.
Semicolon, the American Dream.
Yeah, the American Dream.
That's all you need.
If
Dizzying
by
as
American
fuck,
Dream,
American Dream,
what I actually mean is one of your family members' parents dies, leaves you a whole bunch of cool shit, and then you just become a superstar. More or less American Dream. It's just it was an express American Dream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Starlight Express, in fact.
The Starlight Express. Very well done. Jumping off of that, Mel, why don't you give us the episode synopsis of the fun title of the first episode from this series, The Beginning.
The Beginning.
Very well done.
So we start the episode real briefly with a funeral.
Oh,
hold on.
Do you have the synopsis up in front of you? If not, I can read it real quick.
Oh, I can read that.
Oh, you got it? Okay. I just want to give people kind of an overview.
I didn't know if you wanted to be how specific. Okay, I'll read what you told me to read.
Just to give the folks kind
of
an idea
of
what we're doing, and then we'll pick it apart. Like a carcass.
Starlight Music's Jerrica Benton confronts co-owner Eric Raymond over a rigged band contest to promote the Misfits. Posing as singer Jem, she steals the show. Eric challenges her to a new contest where winner takes all, plus a movie deal.
Fantastic.
Plus a mansion.
There are so many things we need to talk about.
That's not written. Sean, you can't add to the synopsis because it's not written.
It's official, Sean. It's not official if you add to it. Okay, so Mel, you were walking us through the beginning here. So what is our opening scene after this theme song?
It's raining. We're in a graveyard. Someone has died. There is a woman speaking over the episode who says that her father is dead, or something like that.
So that's like your intro.
Do you want to hear what the quote was?
You've got this crazy musical theme song. Everything's fun and jam and truly outrageous and misfits and pop and flash and cocaine and 80s and crazy. And then just like, I remember when my father died. It's like, man,
I remember how it all started with the unexpected death of my father. So it starts with a very somber tone, and it's very kind of. I want to say it was a little emo before its time.
Yeah.
It was, and it's interesting because they talk about this unexpected death of Jerrica and Kimber's father, but they really only give you the point of view that it affects just Jerrica and not really, and that the rest of these girls really aren't grieving and that they aren't having any problems.
No, that's not true. They were all at the funeral.
Well,
I mean, they were all there,
but I had no clue that Kimber was even like her younger sister until
they don't really. Yeah,
everything's focused on Jerrica, which is I think fine because she's your lead of the show. But yeah, it just, I mean, they just kind of jump in here and say like, I mean, her lines are literally like, when my father died, he left me two things. His music company, Starlight Music, and a home for foster girls, Starlight House. And you're just like, holy shit, like what? How did we get from like 0 to dark to 60 like that? 0 dark 60.
0 dark 60.
Yeah.
So what drove me crazy was that he has all this money, but he still has his daughter living in this dilapidated orphanage with the rest of these orphans.
Now, I have to say,
she's not even living in luxury.
To say, hottest orphanage in cartoons ever.
And I want to bring up a separate point.
Please.
At what point do you stop becoming a foster girl?
Yeah.
Because there were some chicks in this
some ladies
that were women. And at that point, I feel like you need to earn your own.
At that point, it's sort of a halfway house.
They just stay there. I love it though.
But then, does there need to be a particular ratio before it becomes a harem?
That is why,
right?
if this was in Pennsylvania, that is why Rio had to live there, even though he didn't actually live there. If it was Pennsylvania, the old law, I don't even know if this is legit anymore, but it used to say, like, in sorority houses, you had to have a male, at least guard or something there at all times. I don't even know if that's legit, but that's what we're going to...
Yeah, because it was actually, if you had more than 8 women in Pennsylvania living together at the same time, it was considered a brothel.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
that's still true.
Is that still true?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job,
I remember
Pennsylvania.
it being a problem in my Greek system.
Yeah, exactly.
We should mention that we all went to school in Pennsylvania.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
so
probably a good point. What we're saying is Jem and Holograms takes place in Pennsylvania.
They can't take place or else those women be on the streets.
That's right. They'd make a lot more
so
money.
That was confusing.
Than what were they, like, washing cars and mowing lawns for spare change? So, like Sean said, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so we're introduced to this house, and we're introduced to just how poor this house in fact is. And I say this as somebody who has recently done a lot of home improvement efforts. Right. They do take a little bit of time. And they do take a little bit of effort, and it takes a lot of Googling and YouTubing on videos to see how to actually do some stuff, which is what if anybody's ever asking you, what is it like to be an adult? Just tell them, like, I YouTube and Google a majority of the things that I'm looking for, and then that's what I end up doing.
I was going to say Jem and the Holograms couldn't do this in 1985, so they were even further behind the eight ball there.
Sure. But they don't have enough money. They evidently don't have any money to be able to hire a handyman to come out and do this.
So they have a music company and a foster home, 0 money.
Zero money.
Zero money. All the money was in the music company and the foster home.
The thing is, and so
For hot teenage girls.
Oh,
so
boy.
in about 20 seconds, you see Rio destroy all the wiring and lighting in the house. Yep. You see, I think it was it Shayna? She, like the vacuum cleaner goes crazy and explodes.
Jerica gets a wet t-shirt.
Jerica gets a wet t-shirt contest, and she completely destroys the plumbing in the kitchen. And so this has gone from a semi-functioning house that had some pretty shitty circuitry or wiring to a place that has absolutely no lights, no running water. They have nothing.
Now hold on.
In this moment, I thought to myself, like, how can you still have these orphan children living in this environment? This is so bad for them.
There's that. And then, so they have the rest of the house is a dump. There's even a character that says, "What a dump."
And then DDT's a chair.
She just top ropes.
Power elbows a chair.
She just top ropes and Macho Man, Superfly Jimmy Snuka's this chair and breaks it apart.
Was that my favorite character, Dirty Cheeto?
It was.
Was it actually her? Was it actually
I think it was Dirty Cheeto.
That's my favorite, by the way.
Every
time she came up, I just shouted Dirty Cheeto at the screen. So well done.
I'm so happy.
Well done.
There is an orphan in this house, dear listeners.
Ashley.
It is Ashley.
Her name is Ashley.
Okay.
She has bright orange hair and is wearing a orange and black speckled shirt, but sometimes it looks yellow. And as soon as I saw this girl, I thought to myself, you were made in the image of a Cheeto.
A dirty Cheeto.
And she's a liar. She's a dirty cheater.
She's one of the weirdest characters in this first two episodes for a number of reasons. Not least of which she looks like a dirty Cheeto. So
she's a dirty Cheeto.
They've got a busted ass house. They had decent furniture until Dirty Cheeto goes all WWE on it and just breaks this chair. That was the point where I'm like, I'm fucking in. This show's gonna be great. And then, so we've got wet t-shirt Jerica sitting there, and they all come in and they're like, all right, this house is falling apart. We need some money to fix this place up. What could we possibly do? Who comes over to her? Was it Shayna that comes over to her and is like, hey, when your dad needed money, he used to actually go to his company.
This is what's weird, is that they have a house mom.
Oh, that's right. It's a house
There
mom.
is a house mom that lives with them that is an older woman.
That doesn't do anything.
That presumably does jack shit.
She cooks,
maybe? I guess she cooks. In this moment, she provides. She's used as a source of wisdom for Jem
and hair drying service
and toweling services.
Towel off service.
And so she tells Jem, whenever your father needed money, he'd go to Starlight Express. I'm like, well, yeah, fuck yeah, he would.
Yeah, he went to
owned
his company.
He went and just took money from his company because I'm sure he got a salary.
So I had a famous Mel mishearing moment right before we segued into the second part. So where we have our professional towel drying lady is like, when your father needed money, he just went to Starlight Express. And
so Mrs. Garrett.
Is that her
Garrett.
No.
I don't think I ever name her.
That's the woman from Facts of Life that takes care of all the
totally
girls.
Girls. And I think Starlight Express is like a carnival ride. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a carnival.
It's a Broadway musical.
Yeah, that too.
Also that. So she says this, and then I think, I don't remember, one of the girls, would you say it was Sas?
Was it Jerica?
No, one of the other girls says that's a great idea, Jerica. Why don't you do that? And what I heard her say was, man, I'm so glad he died.
In reference to her father.
To her father. Instead, she says, yeah, why can't I?
Oh,
okay.
No.
And I heard, so I had to pause and rewind it. I was like, what?
I mean, it could have been like a Freudian slip because she was probably super glad that guy died and was hoping she'd get some kind of money or something from it. I love that Jem just rounds up these orphans and is just like, all right, who are the hottest ones that can actually have a musical talent? You're in the band. Not you, Dirty Cheeto. You sit down.
Well, so here's where screw you, Dirty Cheeto. Here's what I don't understand. You, rightfully so, the show seems to be all about the music, but Jerica herself seems to not actually give a shit about the music, and the music seems very secondary to her primary objective, which is just to take care of these orphans, which is very philanthropic of her.
That's good.
Very admirable.
Yeah.
I'll actually go one step further, and it seems like Jerrica's really, her only motivation in this is just to get money.
Yeah, but she just wants to get money for the
She just
orphans.
wants to
Get paid. Start an empire. Get a show on Fox.
Oh boy.
But before they even like form the band, all right. So back to this episode now.
Right.
So we were introduced to this guy named Eric Raymond, I believe that's his name, at the beginning of the episode, where he decides that a funeral is the perfect opportunity to offer Jem basically like the contract of a lifetime. This is also where you're introduced to Rio, because Rio, her road manager / boyfriend / kind of bodyguard, basically just shoves this guy away. So after the funeral, though, we find out that he's basically taken over Starlight Music, and he is promoting a rival band, the Misfits, which is composed of 3 other female rockers, Pizzazz, Roxy, and Stormer. Stormer's
I was going to say, who's everyone's
Stormer. Stormer's my favorite.
No, Stormer's my favorite. I'll fight you for her.
Is she the emotional one?
She is.
Is that
Stormer's
why you like her?
She's got a little edge. These girls basically, like, you look at them and you just know that they definitely have HPV. They're like they're the dirty girls. They're a little rough. I kind of stole that from Amy Schumer, so I apologize.
I think Pizzazz is my favorite.
Well, let's talk about.
She's got my favorite color hair. She's got that green hair going on. I like it. I'm into it.
There's a lot of good pseudo punk stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are in. They're in. So Jerrica is in this office, and she is talking. She's talking with Eric Raymond, and Eric Raymond kind of begins to give his manifesto, where he's saying like, my goal is to make this next band so popular, and here they are, the Misfits. Yeah. And this is where
just bust through the wall.
I want to say this is, in my mind, this is where the show suddenly went from a 10 to an 11. This is when I had to begin to suspend disbelief significantly. Okay. Because this was the first moment where suddenly the things that are happening and the believability of this show comes into question.
They don't. So normally we see stuff
Dave, let me explain. These 3 women bust through Eric's door.
Kool-Aid style.
And they bust through his, I mean, literally, they break through his door, and they are on bikes that are shaped like guitars.
Yes, they are.
In an office building, and then they proceed to drive around and around Jerrica to kind of dizzy her to an effect.
I think they chased her down a rainbow in space. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
And again, I've already said that this whole episode is dizzying AF, and so suddenly this becomes crazy because they break into a song.
Yep, music video time.
And this is the moment where
that's the part where it got crazy for you, when they started singing.
No, it's the fact that they broke into an office on cue.
Yeah.
All right.
On music.
And they were riding on dirt bikes or motorcycles that don't actually exist in real life.
No, they're
that
like
are just
bikes.
Shaped and made like guitars. So they're on space bikes. Thank you, Dave. And they are driving around this office like crazy people, just breaking shit. And then they just jump into the first song and music video, Out of My Way. And so
I love this scene because they did not break the 4th wall. They created a new wall and then broke through that. So it was like they did this weird convention where they're like, okay, you're already in this show. We're not going to address the audience directly, but we will build a separate room for us to have a music video in. And then just like make it organically line up with the rest of the narrative. Right. I was like, okay, this is fine. A music video can happen at any time. You can ride guitar space bikes down a space rainbow chasing Jerrica. Totally fine with it.
And now I want to be clear that when we say music video, when we say that they sang a song, I want to say that the convention for every single one of these songs, whether it's the Holograms or the Misfits, is to find one snappy catchphrase and then repeat that 50 times.
You basically just summed up the last 50 years of pop music, but also fun.
They could have hired somebody to just write all the music for them, who would have done a really great job, and not just made a bunch of for instance, one of our favorite shows, Steven Universe, lots of music in Steven Universe. Okay. It is all very thoughtfully written, and each of those songs is super fun. It's not the same thing repeated over 50 million times.
It definitely is not.
And that is why that's disappointing. What I want to get back to very quickly with this like convention that you're talking about, I want anyone who's listening to this podcast who is like big into magical realism to really help us pin down what the fuck is going on here. Because what is interesting too is the way that, you're right, Sean, like the way that they introduce it is really jarring.
Yeah.
But almost immediately okay, because you kind of understand how a music video works. Right? Like even in music videos, it's like sometimes it's like normal scene, conflict is happening, and now music, you know, it's like, it's the musical convention. Look, you're having a conversation and something magically ridiculous breaks out of it in song. Yeah.
It just gets weird when they have that, but then they also, within the narrative itself, say that they have to make a music video. That's when it gets weird. Because it's like, you guys have the magical power of making instantly a music video. It's like they don't pull something from Hammerspace. They go into Hammerspace, and that's where they have their
That's actually
video.
great. That's a great way of looking at it.
That's what it feels
also,
like.
Totally, it's totally that. And then you know what else is fascinating is that none of the music is used to serve as a plot device. Yeah. None of it advances the plot at all.
No,
it's
zero.
like they go into Hammerspace, they come back, it's like nothing.
Hold on.
Yeah, like nothing's even disturbed.
They almost what they do in these instances for these music videos is that they put the plot and the story on pause. They do like a Zach Morris timeout, and then they concentrate on just flying around Hammerspace in a nonsensical manner that serves no purpose other than to, I'm sure, eventually put some of these songs onto onto a cassette tape
or whatever. Yeah,
you know, remember this is the 80s, so cassette tape, and then make a little bit of money off of this. Which again, I have no idea how they were selling cassette tapes that said Jem and the Holograms and the Misfits. And they were selling these when there's a band called the Misfits.
Well, there's a hipster store up the street that is selling Jem's best hits on vinyl now. So,
fuck, seriously?
No.
So I was like, can we go there?
Yeah, well, we can start. It'll be us.
Oh God. So we get our introduction to the Misfits. We realize that they are sort of the foil to what is about to become Jem and the Holograms.
Yes.
So we now are introduced to a point where Jerrica has kind of made she's made the like, you'll see what I can do kind of threat as she walks out of Eric's door.
Out of her own company now. You got to remember that she technically owns at least some portion of it.
Again, at any point in time, Jerrica should have consulted a lawyer.
Yes.
And this could have been resolved
outside of Mrs. Garrett.
3 minutes.
Here's
with a cease and desist.
This is why. Jem and the Holograms, don't trust public defenders.
I thought it was just going to be don't trust men.
This is also why it's not called Jem and the Lawyers.
It's not Jem and the Lawyers. It's not Jem and the Police Force.
It's Jem and the reactionary tale of a young woman who really has no idea what she's doing.
But I love it because, guys, if you're with us up to this point, we haven't even gotten to the crazy stuff yet. Because this is still just Jerrica.
Right.
We don't even have Jem yet.
Dave, can you, if this is a plane that is landing, can you safely land us in this landing strip of crazy that's about to happen?
You can't. No, you just have to fly into Hammerspace and just ride a space rainbow because this show now goes nuts. Jem,
she leaves Eric's office with this threat of like, you'll see what I can do in terms of like getting money from this company. And then she arrives home back to Starlight.
Back to Orphan House. Yeah, hot Orphan House.
She gets back to hot Orphan House. Yeah. So HOH. So she's back at HOH, and
she basically has one of her like sorority sisters come up to her because she gets into the house and she's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because this is where they have the honor jar, right?
Yeah.
Where Dirty Cheeto tries to steal from the honor jar. There's like a weird subplot with Dirty Cheeto that I don't even know why it's there, but I love that Mel named her so I can just refer to her as Dirty Cheeto.
Dirty Cheeto.
All these girls are like, they're like washing cars and mowing lawns and like doing paper routes. Keep in mind, they're like 20 years old. I don't know why they're doing this. Just to make money. And then they're putting it in an honor jar so they can buy a new fridge. So also their fridge is shot, so they just got rotten food everywhere.
So Mrs. Garrett is making just no food whatsoever. There's
just
nothing
opening
that's
cans
there.
all day long.
I want to pause and mention that my favorite part of doing this show with you guys is the fact that we come up with our own names for the characters that we feel are infinitely better than what was actually in the show.
Manjurpa.
Manjupa, yes.
I want someone out there to draw some kind of fan cartoon of this character Ashley as an actual dirty Cheeto. That would make me really happy.
That'd be amazing. Dirty Cheeto with just like the hair and a ponytail.
Yep.
Or like a top. She almost had like a
top
top
knot.
Oh,
knot.
top knot?
No,
top
she
bun,
didn't. She had the like.
You have a side ponytail?
No. What's the 80s? It's like the 80s female look where it's like up to your ears is super short, almost like a boy cut, but it's like frizzed out, and then you have like just a big honk of hair mane in the back, and it just kind of sits there because she has it in a ponytail.
That's what Dirty Cheeto
But it looks like that's a Dirty Cheeto.
So if your picture of her couldn't get any worse, it just did.
That's what all the
Dirty
salons
Cheeto.
call it.
So the side plot is that they're putting this money in the jar. Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm.
Jerrica's got her own thing going on. Like, I'm going to start a band and just like, battle the Misfits, of course.
Well, hold on. We should mention that we're not even at that point where Jerrica has said, like, I'm going to start a band yet, because she gets home and she realizes that a package has been delivered while she's been out.
Which wasn't, she didn't see it sitting on the desk in front of her with a giant tag
that just said fucking
Jerrica.
Jerrica.
She had to have one of her friends come and just be like, assault her and just be like, Jerrica, this thing showed up for you. And then she opens
There's a package.
So she opens it up,
Yeah.
and it's a pair of these like kind of like red-ish starburst earrings.
Yeah.
And so she's like,
nice.
oh my God, she's like, these are great. So she's like, who do you think they're from? Because there's no from note that's on it. And so everybody's like, ooh, I bet it's Rio. I bet it's Rio.
Everybody gets real catty, and then they strip down and have a pillow fight. Nuts.
And then suddenly the ghostly apparition form of Olivia Newton-John shows up in the fucking bedroom.
Gaia from the Planet Tears. I didn't know what was going on with this thing. Just like this purple hologram woman just right across the screen.
So we should say this purple hologram woman who is in all spandex like Olivia Newton-John in the Let's Get Physical with no just blacked out eyes that are just a darker purple than the rest of her flesh tone. Ugh. And so she's got awful horse eyes, but they're purple. She's got plague eyes. Mm-hmm. And so old plague eyes just kind of like, and again, I've mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, the animation in this as she like ghostly glides across the floor as she sweeps closer to Jerrica.
And nobody freaks out.
And nobody says anything. Nobody reacts in any way, shape, or form. And the animation at this point is the body moves and the head gets stilted and is like a half second behind the body. So the body comes into the foreground faster than the head. And so the head and the neck jump up slightly. It looked like a horror film, and there was I had to pause and just sort of reset my brain because I honestly thought that we had just watched like Woman in Black.
Yeah,
like,
she was like one of those ghosts on a track that just come flying at you on a zip line. But everybody was totally cool with it. They were down for whatever was about to happen.
Yeah. And so so Ghost Olivia Newton-John says to them. No, she doesn't introduce herself at this point.
Oh, that's right. She just says like,
she does not.
Hey, there's instructions in the box. Fucking follow them.
She says instructions in the box. Get in the car. Fucking follow.
Now here's where Starlight Express comes in. So Mel did mention that earlier. That's their band van, the Starlight Express. Well done, Mel. Well done.
So they all jump into Starlight Express. Mm-hmm. And so where do they head?
They head out to like the abandoned fields where an old drive-in movie theater exists.
Yep.
Which ostensibly belongs to her father because it's called like Starlight Movies.
Exactly. He owns everything in Starlight, Pennsylvania.
I mean, this guy is rich. This guy is rich as hell.
But a dick because he didn't leave her any money. Just a busted-ass orphanage and a defunct music company, and a busted-ass van.
Yeah. So they get there. And they are brought in like through what looks like a fake wall. And so they drive into this.
They literally drive through the wall of the building because it's a hologram.
This is the weirdest thing we've ever done.
Yeah, this was the direct line.
Oh, God.
And when they get there, and they're just like, come, follow me. And they're just like, oh, through the wall. I don't have a good feeling about this. And Jerrica just goes, I've got a hunch. Shut up.
She's a fucking private detective all of a sudden or something.
Exactly.
Like,
Jem and the detectives.
Jem and the Gems.
And so they go through and they're introduced to what I can only imagine would be if they updated the synth or like the synth like organ from Phantom of the Opera for the 80s.
Yeah. They just drug that thing out of the closet.
just with Plague Eyes' head like in the monitor, explaining to her that she is something called Synergy.
He's like, oh, you're much less creepy now, just a floating disembodied plague-eyed head.
Yeah. Thank you, Synergy. And so Synergy is the Deus Ex Machina of this entire show.
Literally.
Synergy can do anything and everything that they need at any point in time except help them write a song.
But Sean, what was the earrings about? What's the whole point there?
Well, the earrings are extremely important because they are small additional projectors. And so they are like satellite receivers for Synergy. So Synergy can come with Jem anywhere she goes.
I really hope we have listeners out there that are just like, they're called microprojectors. If you're listening and that's you right now, I love you, and please let us know in the email.
You are the best, and I'm a dummy for not taking better notes.
You're the best, and we're going to send you a pair of those earrings.
I was going to say, if you have those earrings, let us know too.
Exactly.
Or Saturday morning cartoon.
I'm just gonna cut buttons into jagged shapes and send them to you.
just gonna cut them into ninja stars.
That's right.
Just throw them into the air.
Just gonna put them in the air. So now we've got Synergy. And Synergy reveals that her dad not only left her a busted-ass van, Orphan House, defunct music company, weird Olivia Newton-John ghost, also left her a walk-in closet full of really sweet and real clothes and musical instruments.
Very real.
They were totally real. I love her reaction when she felt the clothes and we're like, oh, and they're real. Like, what the fuck did you think?
As opposed to them being a hologram, that made sense.
Well, the amazing thing is that for everything that she wears, it's
exactly. So what?
It's essentially a hologram.
She could be walking around nude the entire time, but she's got Synergy.
Probably is.
Don't get me started.
Oh boy.
All right.
Calm down. I want to ask this question, and this was something that I had been thinking about when I watched the first episode the second time around.
This is gonna be good.
Do you feel in any way, shape, or form that the father, that Mr. Benton, Jerrica and Kimber's father, do you feel that he was an overbearing father? I mean, because he passes away, he dies, he doesn't reveal or share any of this information.
He's Batman.
He suddenly endows his daughters with a crazy amount of responsibility and says, you do this. He gives them no warning. He gives them nothing. And the initial thought that I had the second time that I'm watching this is, what a terrible father to all of a sudden press his will upon both of his daughters and these other orphan kids and be like, you go do this thing. Like, you go tackle these problems.
As opposed to giving it to whom, though?
He could have solved this by just giving them the money that they needed. They wanted $300 to buy a refrigerator.
I don't even think it was that much, was it? Oh yeah,
I think they were missing $30.
Yeah.
$30
because Nacho Cheese stole it. What's her name? Dirty Cheeto.
Dirty Cheeto. Nacho Cheese.
Nacho Cheese. Which we'll come back to. We're not leaving that plot line, kids. It wasn't just a once and done. We come back to it in the next episode. So,
I think you're really looking at this the wrong way, though. I think that it's clear that Jerrica cares about. I don't want to get into an argument about this, but I think she cares about the orphans, and I think her father probably knew that. So she was like, "You take care of the orphanage because that's your deal, and you'll get 50% stock in the company, which means you also have power in it."
Which she's not getting.
No,
which she's not getting.
She's not getting.
So that's not her. That's not her dad's fault. And then he's like, "Here are a bunch of toys."
Also a hot rod
and a
souped up car. That has your name like monogrammed. Only your I love this.
Yeah.
Only your singer name, not your actual name.
Which is amazing that it does. Because they've never at any point in time have they mentioned that she is named Jem. This is why I'm saying that I feel that this father was so overbearing that like he had this persona created for his daughter and was like, you now go be this Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana persona.
I think you're blowing this up, Sean.
I could see it. I honestly didn't think that much about it beforehand, but I can
Thank you,
see
Dave.
Exactly.
it.
Thank you, Dave.
I can also see how maybe he was the opposite of an overbearing father. Maybe he was just like an absentee father, and he was basically just like, I'm real rich, and I've got this weird computer thing that makes holograms, and like there's cars and stuff, and just do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm dead, and I never told you about your real mother because we never hear anything about her.
I do want to say, in all of this that's happened so far, I know we talked about the honor jar and everything in this episode. That has not happened yet.
Oh, it didn't?
In the timeline of things, no. The honor jar does not make an appearance until after this Battle of the Bands in the Park scene.
Oh, okay.
Because that's when Bon Ni donates money into the honor jar for walking the neighbor's dog.
Okay.
So this subplot that we've been talking about hasn't even been introduced yet. Again, if you are listening to this and thinking to yourself, there's a lot of shit that's going on in this, you're right.
You're like 10 minutes
this episode is crazy dizzying with the amount of things that go on in it.
Okay. I'm exhausted.
So now
we've got.
Go ahead, Mel. Sorry.
So
tired. I'm just exhausted.
Exhausted.
Thinking about
really,
how much
like
more we have to
halfway
talk
through the first episode. So now we finally got Jem and the holograms, because as you may have wondered before, like, why would they be named the holograms? So Synergy can make holograms of anything she wants, anywhere she wants, as long as she's got these little micro projector earrings. So she can just dress up, make up the entire band, make them look like whatever. She even does this little game where she makes them look like each other just to prove her like omnipotent power. So she does this when they have this battle of the bands in the park, right? So Eric Raymond's got his Misfits out in some weird ass park in the middle of nowhere where there's like six people listening to a band.
And they all look like they came straight out of the Thundercats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they just
did.
ported
They're
over
all
the
like
animation from Rankin Pass.
cat-like hair, literally, because it's like parted in the middle,
Yeah.
and it's like all torn up and shit, and then like Herculoids and Thundercats had a baby and put all these people to go to concerts.
And they want to go see a concert. Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to do something. Let them go see a concert.
Mm-hmm.
Let them go see the Limp Lizards opening for the Misfits.
Yeah. God. So just to move this along, because this is sort of a long scene. So what happens is they get Eric is trying to has revealed his plot earlier that he's rigged this battle of the bands so that the Misfits will win. And as he is about to announce the winning Misfits,
which is like audience applause.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on their applausometer.
Yeah, exactly.
And so thank you. And so at this point, suddenly across this park,
this
you
public park
see,
for children.
You see a public park. All of a sudden, Jem and the Holograms begin playing for the first time,
right.
and
no rehearsals, by the way.
No rehearsals.
Just straight out of the gates.
They're just, we're doing it live, and they are going for it, and they're crushing. They're crushing, and they're having a great time. And so they finish, and they introduce themselves to everybody, and they say, "We are Jem and the Holograms." And
by the way, second music video here.
So this is the second music video.
Which is super cool because it features them playing a claw machine to win toys. I just need to point that out.
At one point, it's a claw machine that reaches down and it picks them up.
Exactly. So my mind is...
so there's... Again, they are within Hammer Space, and this song is called Only the Beginning. And so Only the Beginning begins, ends, and then here's where the actual conflict for this entire show begins.
Right.
Is that Eric challenges Jerica to a bet. And so the stakes of the bet are if Eric can make the Misfits a bigger band than the Jem and the Holograms, then he gets to control Starlight Records.
Basically, he wins. And
vice versa.
Right. And he does this kind of like at first he just does it because Jem says, "We're Jem and the Holograms, and we were invited by that person over there in the distance." And then she like runs into the woods, creepily changes back into Jerica real quick. And now Jerica comes out and has this conversation with Eric. So it looks like Jerica is competing with him for the share of the company, and that she's managing the band.
And we should say, in a moment where it seemed like there was absolutely 5 people in the audience, now there is a shit ton of news reporters and cameramen and people with recorders and boom mics.
But Eric doesn't realize this.
This is a very so this is a very public event suddenly. Yeah. And so at one point it creepily pans back, and there are 3 men that are standing in like kind of the tree line, and 2 of them wearing sunglasses, and another guy that actually emerges, and he hears the bet take place, and he goes, "My name is Howard Sands." He goes, "And I'd like to also throw in the winning band that 6 months from now will win a battle of the bands, whether it be the Misfits or Jem and the Holograms. Right. I will give them a movie contract, as well as also he just happens to have a picture of the mansion."
This is my favorite part because he just walks in like, "Hi, I'm Howard Sands, famous movie producer. I would like to give the winner of this competition a movie deal. Also, this mansion." He's just like a game show host.
He's holding this. Hey, you guys want to see what's in the mystery box?
It's
another mansion.
It's his mansion.
God. It's his fucking mansion.
What is wrong with you? This guy's Hugh Hefner, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier or not, but he basically is like, "Oh, there's all these. You got a whole orphanage of hot young girls? Yeah, definitely come party at my mansion."
So in this moment where all of these stakes have been created, it all of a sudden is immediately deflated because the fucking Misfits jump into the Gem and the Holograms band with all of their equipment, and they take off, and then there's a hot pursuit.
It's a band
they
chase.
Steal all their equipment.
There is a hot chase scene,
yeah.
and that's where, when you're watching it, you see like a moment where the Misfits throw a guitar out, and then they throw a keytar out, and then all of a sudden you see that's the moment where they cut to a commercial.
Yeah.
And then it comes back immediately.
Right before that, they're about to drive off a cliff.
Yes.
Right,
and at this point, I wrote in my notes, quote, women drivers. And then it comes back from commercial.
Hey.
I put a smiley face next to it. It's fine. And then they come back from commercial, and again, they're like right back going to that same cliff. So that's where the episode.
I want to say this: they do not go right back to that cliff. What they do is they go back to an additional like 30 seconds of animation that you did not see in the chase scene for the first couple moments, followed by it's again the Misfits throwing instruments that belong to Gem and the Holograms out of the back of the car. Different colored instruments.
All different,
moment.
Totally different everything.
Like almost totally different dubbing, totally different colors used on everything. It's as if two separate teams were working on this and had no communication skills whatsoever between these teams. And I don't know.
Or they couldn't like go back and look at what they had already done. Or they just use the same frames.
Or in some of these cases, because they have different animation teams that will be working and drawing on this, they hadn't finished and completed that. So what may have happened was that one team was like, okay, so they're going to be like a pink guitar, and somebody was like, cool, pink guitar. And then they maybe drew the head of the guitar pink, and then the next team drew the body of the guitar pink, and they would have been like, oh, guys, you know what? We're Toei Animation. We don't have enough money to go back and be able to fix or change this shit. It is what it is. Yeah. We're going to move ahead.
No one's ever going to spot this discrepancy
30
years later.
Right away.
Mel, let me ask you a question. I didn't mean to slight women drivers because they're actually, as far as...
But can women drive cars?
But can women drive cars? Can women drive hot rods? If you were parked half off a cliff, how would you save yourself? Now remember, you have earrings that can generate holograms of anything you wish, pretty much anywhere you wish.
Oh, I mean, the first thing I would do is I would generate a picture of myself naturally.
Standing in the middle of the road.
Standing in the middle of the road, signaling to my boyfriend, hey, your girlfriend is over there. And my boyfriend would be like, but you're right. What? And then would just drive and save me.
And then she would just disappear into the woods.
And just disappear. Because the moral of the story is, can't trust the police. Don't call the authorities.
Right.
And men will save you no matter what.
It's really unfortunate that Rio, honestly, it's unfortunate times two, because it's unfortunate that he is really only used as a object of affection and to save them. And it's also unfortunate that they need to be saved by him and they can't seem to save themselves because of the writing in the show. It's really a double-edged sword in the worst possible way because nobody wins. So Rio pretty much just saves them every turn.
It's funny that like watching the show, you are rooting for them to save themselves. Like you want them.
Rio really has no place here at all.
He doesn't. No. I'll say this: Rio in this show is as useless as a non-pastel piece of clothing.
He has just drab.
He is
olive drab clothing.
He is non-functioning and just he's unnecessary.
Can we talk about Rio for a second? Like real talk about Rio.
We can. I want to say this though. Right now, this first episode. Each episode is about 23, 24 minutes in length.
Not.
And let's be clear. This first episode only clocks in at 18 and a half minutes. And we are not even at the craziest fucking point of this episode yet. And we are only like 15 minutes into this first episode. Yeah.
It's nutty.
And I'll round it up by saying this. If you think like, wow, they only did 18 and a half minutes out of a total like 23 and a half minutes, that's because they had 3 minutes of what to expect in the next episode.
Which is actually good for us because we can zip through that montage and that'll pretty much wipe out the entire second episode. But yeah, Sean, followed by.
So I mean, all of this is just really crazy. And I state all of this to preface that all the stuff regarding the honor jar and what's about to happen to the Starlight House, we have not even begun to discuss yet.
So let's have that as a teaser and take a brief sidetrack over to Rio.
So you had a question about Rio.
I do have a question about Rio. It seems to me like Rio is almost just like a token male in this show. but for all the wrong reasons. For all the wrong reasons. I'm not saying he's there in a good capacity, really. The way I kind of interpret it, so we have Jem and Jerrica, two sides of the same coin, same person, they just appear slightly differently. Rio's clearly not that bright because he should be able to tell these two people apart. I was really weirded out by scenes where Jem, in disguise, is like heavily flirting with Rio, and he's trying to resist her so that he doesn't cheat on his girlfriend because he thinks they're two separate people.
Right.
But they basically come super close to doing that every single time. Is everybody okay with this? I'm not okay with this. How do you guys feel?
I'm not okay with it either.
Yeah, Mel, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know that we can call Rio the token male because he's not token.
Okay.
Because there's men all over the place. But fair that you tried to use that.
You're right.
So he's not token. But it's like they created a character and set him up just so that they could be like, see, look, yeah, you are a lying piece of shit.
Exactly. So it's like, we need you to save us, but also if you ever do anything, you're set up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like that one bit.
And they, if you read down in the Wikipedia, because again, don't remember fucking shit about this show at all, but what they said was that later in the episode, you get hints about Rio's character. And yes, only hints because he is a one-dimensional man. One-dimensional man's man. And
most of us are.
And
to be fair, accurate representation.
And the only things you get out of him are these little moments where he's like, I don't know, because there's Jerrica, and Jem's like, I have something to tell you, and then something gets, I have something to tell you. Let's almost make out, and then something dramatic is gonna happen, which is stupid anyway.
You know.
But so what they say is that later this continues on in his brain, and he like develops a crush on Jem, and then it becomes like he's got all these elements of being like a deceitful, lying, cheating boyfriend.
I mean, answer this then. Like, why even do that in the first place? This is your boyfriend from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Why is she just not like, here's my ability, this is what I'm able to do, I trust you with this secret, please
she doesn't
make out with me no matter what I look like?
Clearly she doesn't trust him. That's really the problem from the beginning, is she never trusted him, which is why she never told him.
So is this a whole test?
And I don't know,
That's
but what
up,
happens
Mel.
Later, according to the Wikipedia, I know it's fucked up. According to the Wikipedia, she is so far down the shithole because she just hasn't told him, that she doesn't want to tell him that she's Jem because she's afraid that he's going to be like, you've been deceiving me all along.
Which he should.
You know what? This
and she fucking has been.
Yeah. Their whole relationship is built on shitty home repair and lies.
Exactly.
And they both just need to get out and walk in another direction, because it's
terrible foundations.
If you are watching this, it is so unhealthy.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's horribly
The relationship
unhealthy.
is so unhealthy on both sides. Jerrica is terrible to Rio. Rio is terrible to Jem and Jerrica.
Well, like he isn't. I would say, despite all the things I just said, we keep saying he saves the shit. He
saves
the
day
all the time.
But he saves Jem probably more than Jerrica. I don't know. You might be able to have on that.
I don't know. We'd have to watch more.
You'd have to see who gets in trouble more.
That's the thing. It's kind of one falls off a cruise or a yacht, one gets rolled over by a bulldozer. So I mean,
one almost is in a house that gets exploded by a bomb in a duffel bag,
or just set on fire by an arsonist.
All right, I think we should transition into this.
Back to this. So after quote unquote amazing rescue by Rio,
I want to make sure. Do we sort of answer the question about Rio to an extent?
Yeah, I think
so.
Are
we?
I think we're good for that because it is kind of like a side discussion. I could probably talk about it for a while and have like a legit...
I think you and Melanie both bring up excellent points that the relationship, the prime relationship that is in this show, is built on such deception.
Yeah.
That how on earth did they think that a woman watching this, that it would be even a good or remotely decent role model to serve for other relationships?
No idea, man. But I'll tell you what, if you have thoughts on that, definitely sound off in our comment section in our emails too. We want to get back to some of this craziness.
All right. So we now smash cut back to.
Well, we had another music video with the Misfits.
Yeah,
called Winning is Everything.
Winning is Everything.
Winning
At which point their manager is like, guys, keep singing songs like this and we've got it made. Like,
they literally just say winning is everything like 1,000 times, and that's it. which is, again, a great mantra for a young child, man or woman, to just repeat.
Well, I will say this, though.
Everything.
At least it is the Misfits. So kids at this point know that the Misfits are bad, and whatever they say, you should do the opposite. So I'm okay with that. With that. I also love Stormer.
Stormer.
So
I'm going to say I'm Team Kimber.
Good. Get out of here.
But if I got to go to the Misfits,
You're not
I'm
coming
going
over
for
the
Stormer.
Misfits. I got the Misfits.
All right, well, then I'm going for Kimber.
The HPV. So we've got the honor jar. All right, we got that out of the way. We got nacho dirty Cheetos.
So we have we have a whole swarm of these hot orphans that are putting money into a jar, and you're introduced to one of the other ones whose name's Bon Ni.
Right.
And so she is donating money. They're all trying to raise some stuff, and so like what happens is they put all this money in this jar and they explain how they earned the money, because one of the big lessons that you find out later is that not only is it important that you are donating and contributing the money to everybody else, but also how you earned the money, which I think is actually a really super valuable lesson.
It is good, especially when it's contrasted against people who just like they don't work for it or they don't do the responsible thing. Yeah.
And so, it's something where they're saying to you, we want to know what you did in order to benefit everybody, because that's a great, thing that we should acknowledge and that we should, you should get accolades for this. Yeah. So,
like, if you were to get caught stealing, maybe the whole house would not be super happy with you.
Well, exactly. And so this is exactly what happens is that Dirty Cheeto, when put in a room with this honor jar full of money, she just grabs like a whole handful of these dollar bills, almost as if it's like a dirty like hand towel, like in a bathroom. And just kind of fist clenches it and just runs away with it. And she gets busted. She gets busted right away. And so the lesson that she learns is that Jerica tells her that she's not going to dole out a punishment, that the people of the house that she has stolen from, they're going to dole out a punishment. Exactly. So you find out that she has to come up with the missing $30 for this refrigerator.
And that plays in later on, but we got one more bit of craziness for this episode before we get to episode 2.
Does anybody want to tackle this? Because this moment was so... This is when we mentioned earlier in this episode, and this is sort of where a lot of this ricochets, or at least gains momentum. Yeah. Eric, this record executive,
slash like hitman slash like gangster,
not even hitman,
wannabe gangster.
He's sort of like he orchestrates the death of people. Like he calls a hitman who, I want to say this, is wearing the most 80s pair of sunglasses that look like Geordie LaForge's visor.
Oh, and the jacket.
Which immediately made me,
the leather jacket.
Immediately made me think of Cyclops from the X-Men.
Yes.
And on the back of his jacket, Mel, do you remember what it said on the back of his jacket?
I got this one.
It was like, zipper.
Yeah.
Zipper. You know why?
The zipper.
Because he is Eric's component that does all of his dirty work for him.
Yeah. He's the dirty Cheeto.
He's the dirty. No, Jesus.
He's a dirty zipper.
The zipper with the Cheeto stuck in it.
And so Zipper is the guy who goes out. He's a hitman. He's an arsonist. He is a thief.
He's a terrible thief.
He's a terrible thief.
He's a potential rapist.
Yes.
Later
in episode 3, he's a potential rapist. And so he is doing all of these awful and terrible things.
Also, very experienced window breaker, I should point out.
You're gonna get Dave. You're gonna get into this in a minute.
I love it.
He has a leather jacket, and on the back of it, it actually has the name Zipper. Yep. So you have to think to yourself, this guy's really, really good at branding.
He's super confident too. Super confident.
He's like, I'm really working on my brand, trying to let everybody know arson, rape, bombing,
breaking and entering,
whatever. Knocking a gargoyle off the top of a building.
And you know what? Hasn't been caught.
Hasn't been caught.
Not a single time.
Which, I mean, there's no cops in this universe, apparently, because otherwise you'd just be like, it's fucking Zipper. Like, you know this guy. He's walking around with a shirt and jacket that says Zipper on it.
Yeah.
I love this dude, though, because he basically gets hired by Eric to what? I think he tells him to, like, go in and just scare them, right? Wasn't that his whole thing?
So if you are thinking to yourself, I'm exhausted from listening to this recap of this episode, don't worry. I'm exhausted from talking about it.
But we got one more thing.
Because this episode is maddening. Yeah. So Zipper breaks into this house. All right.
By fucking elbowing through the glass window.
The key point before I turn this over to Melanie regarding this is that you have to realize that at the beginning of the episode, Rio is the world's worst handyman, and he shorts out all of the electricity in the house. And so this gives Zipper the cover that he needs to be able to use his elbow to break into the kitchen to begin to loot the house.
To break into an orphan house, by the way, just wanted to point out, which is falling down around them, except these windows are pretty solid still.
So all the women hear the breaking glass, they respond, and what exactly was it that they're holding in their hands as they're walking downstairs?
They're holding like a fucking gas light.
Yeah, like an old hurricane lantern. Like open flame.
Just like... No, I think there's a bulb. They have a bulb. It's a bulb around it.
Yeah, there's a bulb around it. But, I mean, open flame within like a glass thing.
Yeah, and there's only one among the four of them, and they're tiptoeing down the stairs.
Kimber's holding it.
Yeah. Kimber's holding it, and our best friend, Zipper.
Oh, Zipper.
His way of just scaring the girls is to loot. Loot is a generous term.
It is a generous term.
What was in his bag?
Oh, my God. I love this part.
Taking home some tchotchkes.
What specifically, though? Because these are the worst garbage.
I got it, because I texted Sean this, like, what the fuck thief? Go ahead, Mel. Do you have him?
No, what is he?
Oh, I was like, what the fuck kind of thief steals a candlestick, a clock, and a radio?
Yep.
Just right off the shelf. Like, yeah, I'm going to
Look at my haul.
I'm taking it to the pawn shop.
Take it to the pawn shop.
And then,
where they'll be like, this shit's trash.
Yeah, he takes trash from a trash house of orphans. He takes trash from a trash house of orphans, guys. This guy's the worst.
Trash from the HOH.
Trash from the HOH.
And so
yeah, he busts into this place with his elbow by breaking the door, steals trash, gets caught, scares the girls. They have like an altercation. They smash the hurricane lantern on the ground. So
he lunges at her.
He lunges at him, right? Because I forget what he says. He has some great line.
Yeah, they come downstairs and they're like, whoever you are, come out. Yeah. And so he just goes, huh? And just dives at Kimber. He throws the hurricane lamp. Yeah. And then he, as Dave messaged me, he
turns into a stuntman.
Yeah, exactly. He turns into stuntman Mike and busts out of this window that's only on the first story. Yep. So he's like not going. Window. He does have a bay fucking window.
So these orphans now have no electricity, no water, no food, no fridge. Dirty Nachos is stealing, Dirty Cheetos stealing money from them. This dude breaks all their windows, steals their radio, their candlestick, and their clock, sets the house on fire. So they don't know what time it breaks out another window. This place should just be burned to the ground at this point, literally.
Well, and it was.
And it was. So that worked out.
Manifest destiny.
And then it just comes up on the episode at the very end. It goes, to be continued. Now, if you're thinking to yourself,
holy shit,
how did you manage to get that all in one episode? We didn't have to worry about that. Because again, they condensed all of this madness into 18 and a half minutes.
To leave space for a 3-minute preview of what's going to happen in the next.
Now I was 3-minute preview.
Now it's a 3-minute preview. It's a 3-minute montage of scenes that I didn't think it was the next episode. Okay, so this is like the pilot episode. This is the first introduction to this show. So when it said coming up on Jem and the Holograms, I literally thought it was like glimpses of the next 20 episodes in the season, because Dirty Nacho makes a deal with the Misfits. There's a countess that shows up and invites people to a yacht. There's a house that gets blown up. Hugh Hefner does some creepy stuff. Jem flies out of a pool. There's a bulldozer that goes crazy. There's a yacht that crashes into a battleship. I'm just like, what the fuck? How are they going to? That's all in the next episode, guys. That's all in episode 2.
There is so much that happens in episode 2. I
don't have the strength to go through it.
I don't know the strength. I don't have the strength, and I know that we don't have the time to go through it.
Nope. But that was pretty much it. If you watch that 3-minute montage, that's pretty much it. Dirty Cheetos gets some cool moments. There's a couple more band van chase sequences, which is hard for me to say. There's a lot of physics-defying action that goes on in this one. There's a moment where Shayna grabs Jem's boob, which was fun. What else have we got here?
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a good time.
There's a moment where Aja is called Pigface.
Yep.
Which is horribly racist.
There's another one where a music video producer basically takes one of the band members off into a dark, quiet corner to talk quote-unquote business, and then when he asks her how much money she has for the music video and she says none, he's like, "Don't worry, beautiful. We'll work it out." and then they just pan away.
It is very misogynist.
It's very disturbing. There's a lot of and these are all happening on a yacht, which, did you guys notice how the girls got on the yacht, by the way? I love this particular moment, that they seem to just float up straight from the bottom of the ocean and just appeared, just hovered up onto the boat.
How could you not?
Like
how could you, when you were in this crazy hammer space existing universe, how could you not do that?
That's amazing.
And
more music videos.
More music videos.
Which, like, the Misfits crash in the yacht party, and oh my god, there's so much fun stuff. It's nuts. We can't even get through it. Do you guys have any specific moments from this one before we head on to the rest of the show here? You got nothing?
I know. I'm spent.
I think we got
to go into recommendations because my brain is reeling.
Look, I'll give you guys a break here. I'm gonna read a quick review here from this is back in 2004. I did not expect this to be from a fella named John, but it is. His review is titled "An Animated Show with Positive Moral Messages." Gasp, shock, horror. I saw Gem for the first time on video last night and could not believe all the positive messages it contained. Kids need more of this show now than ever. Also, I really enjoyed the artistic animation it contained. Favorite episode was when Gem and her friend Dance sacrificed a major reward to help lost, abused runaways. It was nice to see such morality existing such artistic, creative, and beautiful 80s bohemian women at the same time. What? This is a show that is good for the whole family. Yeah. Hope that it comes back to be viewed for today's kids. Recommended for the entire family. Also recommended to teach kids values they need for today, unlike all the South Park or Beavis and Butthead trash that's out there today. Go ahead and see it for yourself. I'm such a kid at heart. That's from John, 2004. John,
I don't want to wish
what you up to?
ill upon you. So I mean, I hope you get like a sore throat or something like that. Because, no,
sorry,
definitely not.
That's a vaccine
anyway.
What
the fuck are you talking about in this show?
John, get it together.
There are so many elements in this that felt disturbing and demeaning towards women at certain parts that I'm.
But it's still unlike all the South Park. So.
Because South Park has no educational value to it.
Unlike
at
all
all.
the South Park.
He probably needs it the most. Just so sad.
So what about you guys? Do you agree with John? Do you recommend this one for the kids out there to watch? Mel, let's start with you since you're our special guest, backup singer, drummer, guitarist tonight.
Special lady opinion.
Yeah.
A lady.
It's Mel's Corner.
It's Mel's Corner. Me and Laura Barber have our own corners on the show. You know what? I love this show. I can still watch it.
Rewind the last hour and make sure to listen to everything Mel said, and then.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. I'm not going to deny that it's ridiculous. There are tons of things that I love that are absurd, though. Everybody loves things that are dumb and trashy. This is just my dumb. I don't like, trashy romance novels. Right. I don't like anything else. But Gem and the Holograms, I enjoy it. I pretty much love any like rocker chicks that get it to the end of the day. Yeah. Like I love Josie and the Pussycats too.
Oh,
so I feel like this falls into that category for me of just like they're ladies that sing music, wear cool shit, and kick butts.
And that's all you need.
That's all I need.
Sean, what about you? How do you feel about this?
I'm gonna give this a nope.
You say nope.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no to Gem and the Holograms.
I think.
I'm sorry. There were. I don't know if it was the lack of a positive message that I felt that it was giving towards women. I don't know if it was the fact that the relationships that they had that were just back and forth, whether it was male and female, that were just based on lying. Yeah. I don't know if it was the arson, the attempted manslaughter, the domestic terrorism, the explosive devices that were used in order to the yacht rape. I don't know if it was either one of those, that myriad of reasons that kind of led me astray in this. Or I also don't know if it was the poor animation that was by Toei Animation that really kind of pulled me out of it. But I found, I'm going to caveat this because I'm going to slightly change my opinion when you ask me whether or not this should be rebooted. Okay. So,
you're just gonna leave it there.
I'm gonna say right now, I'm gonna pass on Gem and the Holograms with an asterisk.
Okay, so you're an asterisk in the record books here. I'm gonna say check this one out just because you may remember it fondly, but now as an adult, perhaps you will have a different opinion. But it's also worth watching just for crazy. It's nuts. Like we fully intended to go through both episodes tonight because there's so much crazy stuff, but there's so much crazy stuff. We just didn't have time to get through it. So definitely go check it out, man. At least watch the first 2 episodes. If you like what's going on, then watch some more. But as we're about to talk about now with the reboot coming up, there's a very, very different take on this that's coming up with the movie that's coming out later this month, which is
with the live action
movie. With the live action movie, yes. So don't expect a janky animation. Expect some janky live action.
So Dave, would you want this to be rebooted
as the cartoon itself, or as like a show, or what are your?
I mean, as a cartoon, since we focused on watching the cartoon and we have no idea how bad the live action is going to be yet.
Right.
Would you want them to reboot Jem and the Holograms, the cartoon?
I think in this day and age, if they actually learn some lessons from this Jem, if you actually make a more to what Mel was looking for, if you make a female-centered, to center on women, to center on the rock and just like the empowerment that being a lead singer and a musician and an artist, grants you, and to be able to use that as a negotiator, as a business person, as, just an artist. Absolutely, it'd be a lot of fun. They could actually do some cool stuff with the music, create some original music, get some new voices out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, music shows are huge on TV. There's would be an absolute audience for something like this. I don't know how the movie's going to do. What about you guys? Would you like to see a cartoon?
Mel, how do you feel about a reboot for Jem and the Holograms, the cartoon?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'd be totally into it. It's interesting. I read briefly that Chrissy Marks, when was initially questioned about, would you want to see a reboot of this in like 2004 or something?
So around the time of John's review. Yeah.
She'd be interested. She's like, I'd be interested, but I just think it's too complex. Yeah, you fucking create a show that is ridiculously complex, so why not reboot it to make it simpler and cut out all the bullshit? We don't need to see Dirty Cheeto as a character. No. I don't give a fuck about her.
I actually would like to see Dirty Cheeto come back personally, but I'd like to see it just be about the band and the group of friends going through this process, and do like a garage band thing, like a rock band thing, where they actually start from their garage band and then they go up through it, which honestly the movie might be kind of like that, so it might not be as bad as you think.
I don't know.
It's John Chu. He's done, the Bieber concert movies, but he's also done some of the G.I. Joe stuff, so it could really go either way.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, guys.
Right.
So there you go. Right, actually, we might as well do a shout out for that one. That movie's going to be in theaters on October 23rd. And there you go. Sean, do you have a question?
No, I just I wanted to simply concur with the both of you regarding the reboot.
We don't care.
Okay. Oh, you want to be part of that conversation because you had an asterisk.
I was gonna asterisk.
Call in your asterisk. It's like your wild card.
No,
right. Call it in. I just lost track. I'm still thinking about that yacht scene.
I would love to see a Jem and the Holograms reboot.
Okay, moving on. I'm just kidding, buddy. What else do you got for us?
Wow. Man, this is awkward now. It's really not. I don't care at all. I would love to see it again. I'm going to concur with both of your points. Cool. If they simplify it and they make it a strong female, not just a strong female lead in terms of just Jem, but if they make all of the holograms, if it's something where they make them more than one dimensional, if they sort of get rid of this hammer space concept that they have, if they
keep hammer
Mel wants to keep the hammer space. I'd be cool if they had like little musical interstitial videos that pop up. That'd be kind of cool.
I'm fine with that, but I think to the point that you both said, simplify the hell out of this show. It has some great concepts. It can teach some great lessons for women, and it can be something that like empowers them and teaches a more confident, positive role model than what we received here, which was, in my opinion, it was not. In no way, shape, or form was Jem ever a positive role model in this show for me.
No, not at least in the episodes that we watched. So I don't know if it gets better. People seem to remember it fondly, but I think probably for the wrong reasons.
Well, I mean, I'm excited to watch season 2, episode 14, which is again the drug episode.
Get on drugs.
Gonna recap on that.
Which honestly,
now you're going back on
this show. Yeah, now I'm back on Do All the Drugs because honestly, it helps watching shows like this, man.
Jesus,
this show was like a drug trip. It really was.
No.
All right. That was Jem and the Holograms. Right. Let's get back to the real world. Mel, you are our super special guest. Thank you again for coming back. Will you let the folks out there know what you have coming up in the next couple of weeks and where they can reach you on social media?
Making bad lattes.
Is that like the title of your movie or what?
No, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, that's what you're doing. Making bad lattes.
Making bad lattes.
I thought you were a latte artist apprentice in training.
Yeah.
Business card.
Yeah. I made one last night actually that looked like an eagle.
That's pretty awesome.
I think
that's America.
I got a B+ on it.
B+, well done.
So we'll see how that goes. You can find me on the interwebs at Melanie Gwynn on the Twitters and at Melanie_Gwynn on the Instagram.
It's Welsh.
Where again, it is Welsh. If you really want something crazy, if you're jumping into it, I've been Snapchatting my food adventures, and my Snapchat is just at Mel Harker.
Can you also do that with your latte creations so I can see your progress?
I can't because I'll get in big trouble.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that the latte lobby and industry was such sticklers for anti-Snapchat.
They're very anti-phone.
Oh, I see. That makes sense actually.
Which is good anyway. So can't use my phone. Otherwise, I would take lots of pictures of my terrible latte art to be ridiculed.
Yeah.
I know. But instead you can see things like I made Cornish hens the other day and it was quite an experience.
Well, how wonderful.
So you could see that. Yeah, so if you...
Well, it's just a work in progress. And speaking of a work in progress, Sean, what do you have coming up in the next couple weeks?
Hey, so this weekend I'm going to be working with one of our other guests, Tony Lazzaroni, and one of our other guests, Jamal Newman. We're going to be working on the 72-hour film festival that's up in Frederick, Maryland. Those movies that we will write, act in, shoot, and edit will be available for public viewing on, I believe, the 10th, Saturday, the 10th of October. You can check out more information and tickets that they have that are available at 72fest.com, and this is up in Frederick, Maryland. On October 24th, I'm going to be performing some improv for Washington Improv Theater that is going to be at the Atlas Performing Arts Center. It'll be at 8:30, and that'll actually be on Saturday the 24th and the 31st as a part of their Halloween run of shows, which will be a blast. And finally, in November, I am going to be up in Philadelphia for the Philadelphia Improv Festival, and you can find me there again performing with Knox on Saturday or on November the 7th at 10 p.m. So you can find out more information at phillyimprovfest.com. Check that out; it'll be a lot of fun. So a bunch of performance dates. So come out and say hello, and then you can find me on the grams and the titters at Sean Paul Ellis.
You're so good up until that point. No, it's a lot of information for the listeners out there, so we will have all that up on our website, which is SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U. If you want to find out more about us, you can check us out over there. You can also head to Twitter at MorningTunes. You can check out Sean's handiwork on our Tumblr page, SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com. There is, as I speak, an awesome GIF of Skeletor. Having the most badass exit ever, and I love that.
I love that one.
We've also got a Facebook and a YouTube account. You can check us out there. You can also download our podcast each and every week through iTunes and Stitcher. You can also send us your hate mail because we bashed on Jem and the Holograms to SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. Again, that is morning with a U. If you want to find me specifically, you can either head over to Collider.com, where I'll be doing lots of news and recaps of TV shows like Arrow, The Flash, and The Walking Dead coming up in October.
Yeah.
Good times. You can also find me on Twitter at Dr. Claw MD. That's going to do it for us for this episode of Saturday Morning Cartoons. Buddy, what do we have coming up next week?
I don't know.
It's such exasperation.
I'm so tired.
Well, I'll
episode.
toss it up. We can either talk about koalas or monsters. I feel like those are two.
We're gonna be talking monsters next week.
You want to talk monsters next week?
We're gonna be talking monsters next week.
'Tis the season.
Because for the next couple weeks, Dave, we've got another theme month. We jumped right from back to school, and we're jumping into
Spooky monster.
Yes. So October is one of our favorite times of the year, with all of the horror and wonderful gore that is available to watch for all these monster movies. And so we are going to delve into some monster cartoons and get into them. So that's very exciting.
It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to this one pretty much all year long. So it's going to be like an early Christmas present for me. So
right.
We hope you guys enjoyed Jem and the Hologram. Sean, do you have something final there?
I do. I have one final thing. Right. I just want to mention that our last episode that we have was for Fillmore. Which was created by Scott M. Gimple, who's the current showrunner for AMC's The Walking Dead. We just want to call out and say how much we enjoyed that show. And Scott M. Gimple, if you would like to come on this show, we would love to. We'd love to have you on to talk a little bit more about Fillmore. Not to mention, Dave also mentioned that his tagger name in the last episode would be Skinny Pete, and it turns out that we have a friend of a friend who's actually married to the actor who plays Skinny Pete on Breaking Bad fame,
world.
Charles Baker. So, Mr. Baker, if you would love to come on and talk cartoons with us, we would also love to have you on this show as well. We are a huge fan of your work, so please let us know. We don't have people for you to talk to, so you just have to email SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com, and we would love to have you on to be able to continue this conversation. So thank you in advance.
Excellent shout-outs. And one more shout-out. Thanks again to Mel for coming back on the show tonight and joining us. Well done, well done.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
This has been Saturday Morning Cartoons. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next time.